Kaying dapat tahu anjong kejala mata kasih kakak kendai tarik unai luar arajar pulai kelakran kia bakran sani bah hakabidi bakajeng jelai jo Drok sa kejala. Ia kini kamat lawan rak kerja keren lembah jo ba adan mila basemoi emili jo Nongkhaïi hakabau lawan rak ya ke motion man Kyntu ya ke sarkar badi man perkhing syu ya ki ain ki baladan kenang begitu ki bri ki badan bentah hakabasyalan badi yo Droks kin tim bakini menu setiap man syim ban le ini ki kam ki basniu uba adan ulak Kyntu ya ke sarkar maka di ban age jing pistam ke bateng makam juru ban sai badan ya kitu ki han ki badan bentah hakajeng ya ki Droks lani ki badan bentah hakajeng di Droks. Ia kini kemotion la kershan dulu ba Charles Mangar emri ka kongres napa mahati at kumjuru ba Gabriel Walang ubulong emri jaga sang kongres napa Nongkhaïi. La shimataru do Dr. Mukul sangma emri jaga sang tinumul kongres bat mentirang ba barim jong jalla. Dr. Mukul sangma ka jengkren ke jong ula Kyntu ya baro ki emri bakin nong ki ba fikir ba ki ba adkar ba banno ki de parlok bat banno ki pedong ka sang ke jong ki. Hakabau lasot ya kawai nak kebuat kepada jah kasam ajar khatlai hakabau ukhun jo emele barim jaga Mizoram ola syakam ki pulit ba ude utau kingpen jong kini khai Droks ban hadin lalap ba uni ukhun jo emele barim jaga Mizoram ude parlok be jan ba bat Conrad sangma nama kalapau kedur bu yo sendur bat u hakawai ni jalan ki belong apa nang ba Delhi kumtana kalang Dr. Mukul sama ola Kyntu ya baro ki emele bakelong ki hajar bagi fikir bahaya ladi kana makin naik lagi jah ki bukum kini.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, sir. I also rise to support the special motion tabled by the Honourable Emily from Maulai, Bright Star Well, Malbanian, on the incident that happened at Nongkhaïi village on the 24th of August 2023. Sir, any incident that takes place and that causes harm to human people, citizen state, is deplorable and needs to be condemned. But in the year 2013, a bill was placed in Parliament and subsequently became an act which is called the Right to Fair Compensation and Transparency in Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Resettlement Act 2013, or in short, it was the RFCT-LARR Act 2013. This act, there were powers given to the government to enable purchase of land, transfer of land, or any other activities that would need a public hearing to be set up. So before this happens, normally you have a social impact assessment study conducted which will assess whether the proposed expansion in this case or the proposed acquisition will have a direct impact on the people living in and around the vicinity of that area. And then also a social impact management plan has to be set in place. What does this mean, sir? It means that the study will tell you that the proposed expansion or acquisition will or will not have an adverse effect on the population of the vicinity. And the rule is the villages surrounding that area to a certain radius, the people are called and we have a public hearing. So anticipating all this, I feel the district administration should have had prior knowledge that there will be residents within the radius of that cement company, plant, who will voice their opinion. And in most cases, everybody wants to have their own opinion. Therefore, the police or the district administration in this case should have been more informed about what would happen if such a public hearing took place. Therefore, in my mind, this public hearing should have first been stopped and the planned acquisition should have been discussed further through the agency of the government which does the social impact assessment. Then we wouldn't have had the scenario where innocent people who had gone to voice their opinion were brutally assaulted by the police as per the reports that appeared in the papers. So therefore, what my honorable colleague has submitted warrants a further inquiry into why this was allowed to happen. So therefore, sir, with these few words, I support the motion and I request the government to kindly in future assess the situation so that such a thing doesn't happen again. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now we will take up motion number 1. Sri Arden Miller Moit to MLA to move. This House now discuss the menace of drugs and substance abuse in the state. Sri Arden Miller Basamoit, MLA, please.
Sir, I beg to move that this House do now discuss the menace of drugs and substance abuse in the state.
Motion moved. Now you may initiate discussion.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. Sir, at the outset, I would like to thank you for admitting this motion. Sir, the issue of drug menace and substance abuse has become a matter of grave concern for all the people in the state. No one would expect this to happen in a tribal state like Meghalaya. Sir, a stitch in time saves 9 could have been a method adopted by the government of Meghalaya to prevent more damage in the society. So, reported drugs-related crimes have really been the nightmare for the people. So, if one apple, rotten apple, can spoil the whole basket, you can imagine what will happen to the state if more than 2 lakhs people are in drugs, according to the statement given by the Director General of Police, Meghalaya. So, the rise in drugs incidences can be attributed to many factors, such as unfriendly procedure while dealing with those involved in the crime, leniency of the law, soft approach on the part of the government to deal with the crime, a change in the lifestyle of tribal community, absence of strong family bondage, degradation of moral and ethical values in society, no more fear in the authority of the traditional Dorba, lack of parenting, deviation from the tribal culture, and so on. So, as of today, we could notice that drugs smugglers are very much ahead of the government in terms of strategies and plan on how to continue its circulation. I must appreciate the Minister for expressing his determination to tackle the problems. However, going by the media reports, it is seen that cases related to drugs are increasing with each passing day. It has spread throughout the nook and corner of the state, especially in Khasi Jaintia region. So this has instilled fear in the minds of the people. drug users in our state does not confine only to a certain group of people. It is found that all sections of people have been affected by this menace. There is a classification of drug users. Some of them are into drugs out of their own choice. Some of them accidentally fall into the trap. Some of them are driven out of frustration in life, and many other reasons that may have caused them to get into the use of drugs. So, therefore, I strongly feel that if we are to conquer the war against the menace of drugs and substance abuse, the government will have to adopt multi-pronged approaches and take on this crime on a war footing. The government must adopt stringent measures to deal with this problem, sir. It must invoke stricter and harder sections of law to punish the culprit. The Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985, through different chapters, provides the prohibition, control and regulation, offences and penalties, procedure, etc. to deal with the crimes. So, if the government is using and applying these sections provided by this act, sir, I am sure that we will be able to win this war against the menace of drugs. So, the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985 provides for Section 21, it provides for punishment for contravention in relation to manufactured drugs and preparation. Section 22, it provides for punishment of contravention in relation to psychotropic substances. So, Section 27, it provides for punishment for consumption of any narcotic drugs or psychotropic substance, punishment for financing illicit traffic and harboring offenders, punishment for attempts to commit offenses. So it even provides in Section 31A death penalty for certain offenses after previous conviction. So it also provides for the constitution of special court to expedite the matter, sir. So, and it also provides power of courts to publish names, place of business, etc. of certain offenders. So, I feel that if the government can't apply these sections, like in Section 42, power of entry, search, seizure and arrest without warrant or authorization, it will definitely deter the activities of drug smugglers and traffickers. So, I would also like to suggest the government to set up many de-addiction centers in the state for rehabilitating the addicts. As I've said earlier in my submission, sir, that drugs user in our state is not only from one section of society. Therefore, there are many families who could not afford to keep their children in private rehab center. And the government must also facilitate the active involvement of the village daughter in the fight against this menace. The government must ensure that all stakeholders are not subjected to any sort of harassment in the process of tackling the crime. As of now, I know that people are scared to involve themselves and cooperate with the authority to deal with this problem as a result of the problem arising out of legal procedures that has to be followed as witnesses in the crime. This is the main hurdle why people are not willing to come forward and help the government in this fight. So, I am sure that the government must fully aware the kind of modus operandi that drug smugglers are adopting, how they will convert the user to a seller and try to circulate in a small quantity through these addicted users in order to escape the law. However, sir, we know that great number of users can become great number of seller, and consequently a small amount of quantity can turn into huge amount of quantity. Therefore, sir, the government must seal all the loopholes in the system in order to ensure that steps taken by the government is effective. The government must be able to zero in on hotspots locations and identify the kingpins in this crime. The government, I feel, must also offer a reward to any person who can provide a kind of lead with the assurance that his or her identity will not be disclosed. So this is just the few important points, sir, that I would like to bring to the notice and suggest the government so that we can really fight and bring this problem to its logical answer. With these few words, sir, I resume my seat.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I also rise to participate in the motion moved by Sri Adan Mila Basaimoy. This House do now discuss the menace of drugs and substance abuse in the state. Sir, yes, at the state as a whole, we need developmental works, but sir, we cannot also neglect the fact that if we don't concentrate or examine properly about the inefficient social evils like drug abuse, which had spread so rapidly in the past few years. In fact, sir, it is like the deadliest pandemic to many of the youth, especially to the teen ages. Then perhaps the dreams of the development goals of the state will be shattered to the ground. The major consequences of drug abuse that we have seen, including the rise of even like theft, burglary, physical assault, sexual assault, etc. This will hamper the future of the state as a whole. As it will reduce concentration, ability in academics, physical and mental health, family welfare, and economic drain, etc. Henceforth, in relation to this, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I would like to mention that as per the NDPS Act, there is no stringent or strict action to block the users and the suppliers. This is evident from the fact that within a very short period after being arrested, we see that the accused were bailed or released. Therefore, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I request the state government to immediately put forward this matter to the Union government to review NDPS Act so as to incorporate more stringent laws against bailing of both the accused suppliers and the drug users. In addition, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, my suggestion to the government is to constitute various committees at both the regional and local levels through the district council or through the deputy commissioners or CNRD block related with this matter. The government must grant full authority to these committees to operate for the smooth functioning, and this may help to reduce this problem and to obtain social security in the state. Mr. Speaker, sir, with these few words, I hope that the state government will take this matter seriously at the earliest possible. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir.
Thank you, Ba.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir. I also rise in support of the motion raised by the Honourable Member, Mr. Shri Arden Miller Basayumait. The menace of drugs that we have seen, and especially which I have experienced in my own constituency, Nongkhaïi, the sharpened increasing of the drugs addicts in the recent years, which I have seen, which I have known more than 500 of them, which I have met and I have contacted with them. And I don't know what will happen in the next few years. The number will keep on increasing. We have seen the police department and the administration, they have tried the level best in taking the culprit, the seller and the drug addicts. But as my co-member has said, there is no law that prevent them of not doing it again. So, in my opinions, what I have seen is that the causes of drug addiction is mostly lack of an awareness that we need to take up by the state governments, lack of parental supervisions, which we need also not only to keep an awareness to the addict or to the students, but also to the parent as well. The curiosity of the youths today are so much strong that they just want to taste what is the drugs, what is the meaning of the word drugs and what happens if I consume the drugs. So this curiosity leads them to take more and more drugs and they become addicted. And another problems which I've seen is the unemployment, lack of unemployment in the states, which have led them to the drugs addicts. Many of the youths are unemployed. They are educated but remain unemployed. So this is the darkest part of most of our youths today, which leads them to take drugs and other anti-element activities. And the insecurity among them, and also the unstable family that we have in most of our states, due to the poor section of the people. As per Neti Ayok, we have seen that in our states, that's all 52% of our people are remaining poor, and the rest 50% are in a middle section. So, like being poor in the family, this is also another trends that leads to the drug addicts of most of our youth. Depression and others, this is also another factor, the key factor that leads them to the causes of drug addictions. And this drug addicts, it's not a menace only to the family, but it's also to menace to the society. We have seen this harmony in the family, the stealing which happened within the family. Once there's a drug addict, I've seen in my own place, in my own constituency, he starts stealing from the whole family till the entire family left with nothing. Even the whole utensil was sold off by the son who was drug addict. Now it is increasing crime rates, as my other members have said, and various social evils which arise through this. the economic income of those family. Some of them have become in debt by the family. The family member broke, converted a person to be stealing and leads even to corruptions and selling of his own properties. This is happening a lot, which we have seen. And another factor is also it causes self-harm, which increase the rate of suicide, depression, anxieties, and feeling of loneliness by those drug addicts. They feel hopeless, low self-esteem. They feel guilt and shame to be in a part of the society. And that's why they keep on increasing. More and more members are joining, which had taken them at the extreme step of more youths are taking drugs. And this also has got a health factor. The medical issue has been so much expensive as of today. What will happen to our poor families who have been a drug addict within the family? We have seen the drug addict have faced several of health complications: depression, insomnia, paranoia, and so on, which leads to failure and so on. Now, at the same time, with the injections that they are doing, which leads to HIV and AIDS and various transmitted diseases. Now, what are the parameters that the government are doing? Some of the things that I would like to suggest. The ground inspections, some of the need to ground inspections in each and every area of state, in a locality, even train or give an awareness to the headman and the executive member of the locality. This is very important. The parenting counseling that also need to be taken care of. The constant checking. The police at the same time constant checking of those people who are taking the drugs and also drug seller. Constant checking whether these people are still keep on doing the same work. The extensive awareness program that the government needs to be done. Some of the corrective measures that we need to have is like what my colleague has said, is referring to a rehab centers, most of them. And most of the rehab centers are not affordable to the poor section of the people. The counseling, medications, and other physical activities required for the drugs addicts. So my humble request is that the government needs to take care of this and take preventive measures to all. And at the same time, I would request to have a vocational skill training even for the drug addicts, so that they will keep entertained and less in thinking about the drugs. And lastly, what I like to request the governments, to avoid all this, if we can have the employment opportunities for this drug, for youths, so that we can be free of this drugs addicts. As the government is having the DREAM project, an initiative aimed at achieving drug-free Meghalaya. I suppose through this DREAM project, which the government is having, they could inculcate and thought more of what could be done to prevent the drug addicts and this menace which had hampered our state in these recent years. With these few words, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I would resume my seat.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I would like to also rise and make a brief submission and take the privilege of participating in this very important motion tabled by Honorable Member Arden Miller Basamai. The text of the motion is that this House to now discuss the menace of drugs and substance abuse in the state. We are all concerned, and we see the agony through which some of the parents are going. Some of the neighborhood really concerned, and as parents, everybody trying to know about the whereabouts of their children on a regular basis. This particular problem that we so slowly growing on a daily basis definitely has drawn the attention of everyone, in not just the policymakers, everybody, the leaders in different walks of life, professing different professions, children of families from different walks of profession, even including a family who are giving their whole life for the preaching of holy words. Even their families are not insulated. Everybody is getting affected. And we don't know how long it will continue unless there is a collective resolve from all concerned to put an end to this. We may not be able to put an end, but at least we can arrest the momentum at which this is taking on in respect of the state of ours. You know, the momentum of the number that so steady ascending order, I think that is a matter of concern. And things which have been brought to the notice of the authorities are those which have drawn our attention in respect of numbers. But there are many which has not been brought to the knowledge of the even parents. Some of the parents don't even know what is happening. And I saw it happening in one of the states when I was a student. In fact, we lost many of our friends in the college who were victims of this substance abuse. Now these victims of this substance abuse can go to any extent to ensure that they can somehow remain afloat. Like the honorable member from Nongkhaïi was referring to the stories where they go up to any extent, stealing, even robbing. They can go to any extent. So the money and the resultant societal damage, the whole erosion in our ethics, moral values, everything get affected. We have seen how the nations have fallen. We see how when we allow these forces who are responsible in creating the availability of the substances, lots of money change hands. So therefore people who are in this whole peddling of these drugs and other substances which are considered as substances of abuse, they make a lot of money. And this money becomes a kind of incentive for this whole group of people to ultimately come and become a cartel. This is what has been witnessed across the globe. There are plenty of movies. I also happen to watch a number of them. Very, very scary. Government becomes enemy to such people who belong to this kind of cartel, unless they become part of that cartel. And when these powerful cartels start exerting their power from all perspectives, then we know what has happened. We know what has happened in Latin America. And I feel very scary when we hear the narratives. Even the five-star hotels, when you have the weddings, high-profile weddings, it is not free from this. I think many of us know as to what is happening. It's happening in Northeast. It's happening across the country. Therefore, I'm afraid what kind of generation next we are going to have, keeping in mind this whole forces of darkness wielding their power and trying to influence people who are supposed to take cognizance of this evil and take them head on. Are we really taking them head on? Keeping in mind the future ramification. It has become so important for parents to keep on asking the children, Baba, where are you? What are you doing? Oh, I went for a dinner. Oh, who were there in the dinner? To really put them on a scanner. Is he really safe with the friends with whom they are going out and spending their precious hours? Or will they ultimately fall victim because of the kind of friends that they associate themselves with? It has become the concern of everyone else. Therefore, everybody has to be put under scanner, including ourselves, including the officers. The officers who are expected to take care of this very challenging task and dislocate the momentum at which this whole rampant availability of drugs and substances for substance abuse are being made available. Somebody from one of the neighborhoods from Shillong told me, sir, if we walk through one particular location, we can actually identify the people who are standing there just to give to their clients. It's known facts. We're talking about Shillong. And when I listened very intently, then it became more and more scary. Now, therefore, it might sometimes hurt us when we say, look, my dear friend, please take care of your associates. Take care of the friends with whom you are so close. Sometimes children rebel. But should we give up? We will not. Now, I'm more concerned about even us as politicians. We also have to be very, very careful about the people whom we meet, people who travel with us, people who come and join us in our parties, in our get-togethers, because they might take advantage of their association with us. Now, I would, through you, Mr. Speaker, sir, inconsistent with the rules of executive business of this August House, want to share my concern pertaining to association of people who are in authority with people who are allegedly involved in drug peddling. Now, I am very disturbed, and I'm sure everybody will be disturbed by this very fact. Now, there was one of our colleagues in Indian National Congress who happened to be MLA from Mizoram. His son got arrested, and it is carried by many of the national newspapers. It is there with me also. Business Standard, April 23rd, 2013. And the news reads like this. This will be provided to the August House for the purpose of reference for the government. The article says that seizure of rupees 6 crore drugs, kingpin of gang arrested. The text goes like this in a nutshell, only the initial para. A commerce graduate from Mizoram has been arrested in connection with the seizure of rupees 6 crore worth banned tablets here allegedly from the son of a former Congress MLA. Henry Lal Remsanga, whom police describe as the kingpin of the gang, was arrested yesterday He was coming from Mizoram and is involved in illegal trade along with Arvind Ahuja, son of the former MLA Ashok Ahuja, and his driver. I'm reading only the relevant portions since I want to make my submission very short. According to Additional Commissioner of Police, Crime, so-and-so, the trio allegedly supplied the substance tablets in Mizoram and other states of Northeast India. Other states of Northeast India, not just Mizoram. Now, it is more disturbing to me when I came across another vital information which showed me that he is one of the close associate of none other than our Honorable Chief Minister Sri Conrad Sangma. Yes, this is the photograph of the Honorable Chief Minister Sri Conrad Sangma and his wife and Mr. Henry in one of a very high-profile program in Delhi. I was more inquisitive to know. I have to advise the Honorable CM to avoid this association with this man. Yes. Is he aware of this fact, background of this man? And this is a very high profile event in Delhi. And I tried to find out also how did he manage to find a space in this kind of high profile event, sharing the same table. Then I was informed that this sitting arrangement was requested by CM's office. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, what I'm trying to say is that we got to be really careful of who we are associating with. We have to be. Otherwise, these people will have access. If they're traveling with us in the same convoy, with such a jet plus category, you can see how many vehicles are in the front, in the behind, in the whole convoy. With VVIP given that jet plus category and having access to this kind of high profile events. Mr. Speaker, sir, therefore, the fight against this particular menace, it has become an important responsibility upon us. Therefore, we cannot behave like young boys and girls who would not be able to, part our ways from our old buddies who might have already gone astray and is using this. We have to also know whether this connect are being misused by them or not. Otherwise, our CM, our state will be unnecessarily subjected to that kind of different scrutiny. I think I'm happy to be able to bring this to the notice of the Honorable Chief Minister. Let him go through, let him scan the person concerned, and I will advise. I will give a suggestion and submission through you, Mr. Speaker, sir. We have to ensure that we delink our connection with this kind of people. I don't know whether the person concerned has been convicted or not, but unless proven not guilty, therefore, same thing stands unless proven guilty. Therefore, when a person is alleged to have been with such a national capital news of being the kingpin, the headlines say the kingpin. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, I think we have many things to do. Let us be honest. Let us look at all the people around us. Let us ensure that the more aggressive campaign is carried forward, because this declaration has become a national declaration, not in respect of the state of Meghalaya only, but for the whole country. We have got the reply from the Honorable Deputy CM in charge of Nasha Mukt Bharat Pakwad. So we are all equally committed. This government is also equally committed. Therefore, we cannot shrug away from our responsibilities. We hope that things will be taken in right earnest with utmost sense of sincerity. And please do not get offended for alerting the dispensation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.